I'm here with my buddy Nick. Nick, I know we keep saying we're going to, record more, we're going to do more, but I'm glad we're back. We're talking some hoops today. We got a lot of things to talk about. So, Nick, why don't you give a recap of what we're going to talk about today?
Yeah, so we're going to talk about, obviously, I think the big elephant in the room, Draymond Green.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, the news just broke out. He's suspended indefinitely now. We're going to give our takes of our initial reactions to what our thoughts were when he pretty much punched Jokic in the face like it's a UFC match.
Yeah, that was
We're going to dive more deep into just Draymond with his history and all that kind of stuff. We're also going to talk about how I feel like this year the referees, man, they've just become so super sensitive now. And instead of giving players warnings now, I think they're just tossing people, man. Look what happened last night. We're going to get into the Nikola Jokic. It's the second time this happened that he didn't even get one technical foul. The ref just tossed him.
Which is like, I don't usually see that happening a lot. Only in like baseball, you usually see a situation where like the ref's just gonna toss you out of the game. You start mouthing off like they're like done with your shit. So.
Yeah, so we're gonna talk about that a little bit, and obviously we're gonna give. This is our first thing that we're doing on this podcast. Is we're gonna give a spotlight to one player that's been playing very, very well. That's kind of flown under the radar a little bit, not really getting talked about so much, but he's been putting up some monster stats his last 5 games, so I'll give him respect for that. And then our last topic, we're going to talk about the in-season tournament, how it ended and stuff, and how we felt about the in-season tournament as a whole, pretty much.
So I heard that Mickey Mouse is coming to LA for that one, since apparently they're going to be putting the banner in there. So definitely. And just to kind of like reiterate what you were talking about, though, Nick. One of the things that I've, really have been thinking about for us is like giving that like spotlight. Yeah. And I think this is going to be a great thing for the podcast. I think it'll be good to kind of give you guys a little bit more of like, hey, like there's a certain player right now you should really be watching and looking at. Yeah. So to get into it right now, Nick, I know that this is all very recent.
Yep.
The Draymond Green situation that happened last night. So for those who were not watching the game, Draymond Green in the third quarter, while he was on a back down with Yusuf Nurkic, he decided to basically try to sell a call and ended up just winding up and hitting Nurkic right in the face, which led to a double technical and an ejection from the game.
Yep.
It was deemed as a flagrant 2. So, Nick, I just have to ask you right away.
Yeah.
What is going on with Draymond, man?
I don't think anybody knows. That's the problem. Like, maybe he might be just going through something personally that no one behind closed doors really knows except for him. The thing is, I don't think his teammates even know what's going on either. You know what I'm saying? But, this is the third time he's been ejected in the last month. He just came back off a 5-game suspension literally weeks ago.
Yeah.
So he just recently came back, and now this has happened. It's just a bad look for the NBA. Because I felt like in his history, yes, Draymond has the second most ejections in NBA history behind Rasheed Wallace. That's a stat we found out earlier today. His other sports shows were talking about that. But I think he's gotten away with a lot of stuff in his career.
Yeah.
And now with Joe Dumars is running the show, and, they're not going to let Draymond get away with what he's been able to get away with in the past. Especially to this day, that he didn't even get ejected for kicking Steven Adams right in the, I don't understand how that wasn't a suspension. How did he not get a game?
Yeah, I think that...
It's kind of wild.
I think that Draymond, I think it was different back in that 2016 season. We had not, I guess, seen as much of that from Draymond.
Yeah.
I think, they were still coming into their own. They had just won a championship the year before. People were learning more about Draymond because he wasn't like a big, flashy name player that was coming out of college from Michigan State. He was a second-round pick under the radar. Didn't even start playing until David Lee got hurt and then was implemented into the starting lineup. So, Draymond, I think, has had this history. I think he's built his reputation based off of being an irritator, a distractor, a great defensive anchor. But unfortunately, a lot of these things that he continues to do as he's gotten older, it just doesn't fly anymore. And I think one of the...
Because this game has been declining.
Yeah, and I mean, like, back in 2016, Draymond looked like a guy that could like also be a scoring threat. You know, it's crazy to think about this, but he had I think and again,
Game 7 went off.
I don't remember if it was a triple-double or not, but I do remember he was hitting his threes. And this year, ironically, he's shooting 45% from three.
Yeah.
So, you know, Draymond, who's been known to shoot like he's got a backpack on him, you know, when he's shooting the three, and has been terrible the last couple of years from long range. Do not trust on Draymond. But Draymond has great, you know, passing ability and everything. And I think, Nick, even to your point about the Steven Adams, you know, one of the other iconic ones that we always think about is the Draymond with LeBron Game 4 of the 2016 Finals. You know, LeBron steps over him, Draymond decides to, you know, hit him in the groin. I don't know why he enjoys hitting people in groins, but that's one thing that, you know, if he doesn't do that action, we probably aren't talking about that 3-1 comeback, because I think that, you know, they already had all the momentum going their way. They were going back home. All he had to do is win the game, and if Draymond was in, I think that the story would be a lot different. Don't think we'd be talking about this. And it's not the first time Draymond's costed them. Look at last summer. What did he do? Punch Jordan Poole in the face during a Warriors practice. And again, I don't know, whoever wanted that to be seen, well, they got their wish.
That is crazy. Yeah.
And I think even like when you think about it, the Domantas Sabonis, you know, stepping on the chest, you know, there's no room for that.
Pull the Christian Laettner.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's just like, where does it stop for Draymond, where it's kind of like, okay, like, you've said to us that you're never going to apologize for something that you believe was right in the moment to do, but then you're apologizing yesterday. It's like this. It's like the boy who cried wolf.
Yep.
You say I'm sorry too many times, people really just aren't going to believe your apologies anymore. And even though he hasn't really said sorry in the past, him saying sorry now after every other incident where he's done something like this, how do you believe a guy?
Especially look at what's happened in the last month. That choke down on Rudy Gobert.
It was unnecessary.
And then, did he get fouled? I mean, refs do tend to call that, but try to sell it like that where you do a 360 and you wind up and clock this guy in the face.
Yeah. You knew what you were doing.
You knew exactly what you were doing.
Yeah.
And it's getting to the point now where even players around the league are like, what is wrong with this guy?
Yeah, I mean, Nurkic literally said,
like,
that brother needs help.
Yeah, not only that, he also say, like, at least I didn't get choked.
Yeah.
Like, they're, like, literally mocking him now. Like, it's just a bad look. Not only on Draymond Green personally, you know, not only on the Warriors organization, but, you know, the NBA as a whole. Because now it seems that Draymond Green, this 5-game suspension, you would have thought that was a harsh suspension just because we haven't seen a 5-game suspension due to what has happened on the court in a long time. No. And you would think that, okay, he must wake up now.
Well, I think we've been waiting for that for a while.
Yeah. And he took it as, they're really suspending me just because of what I've done in the past. Well, Draymond, I'm sorry, but that's only because you've gotten away with a lot of stuff. And even when you've gotten, you know, suspensions and stuff, a lot of NBA fans feel like they were not harsh enough for you to be able to learn from the things that you have done. Mm-hmm. You know? So.
And I think the other thing, too, is like, Adam Silver chose to not suspend Draymond more than 5 games based on the history of what he's done. And look, I get that a lot of people don't like Rudy Gobert, and I know he's one of those people because he's made it a point to talk about Rudy Gobert on his podcast, too. I know he's made it a point that he doesn't necessarily respect Rudy Gobert.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you don't see a lot of guys in the NBA going after somebody like that, even if you're defending your teammate. Like, what was the point? Rudy Gobert was trying to be the mediator in that situation. And it was just like, Draymond, there was no need for this. There's so many plays. One of the things that actually is just kind of funny, but if you go on Twitter.
Yeah. Oh, you saw the highlight reel?
Yeah, everybody puts a highlight reel of everything he's done that's dirty. It's bad. I mean, the dude's tackling guys, literally like decking guys. Like it's like we're never gonna actually know if Draymond, like, people are gonna look back 20 years from now, and all they're gonna see is Draymond Green clips of him like clocking somebody, punching or kicking somebody in the nuts, stepping on somebody's chest.
He knocked out his own teammate.
Yeah,
literally knocked out his teammate. You saw Jordan Poole, as soon as that punch connected, he started leaning like this with his head coming down. You literally knocked out your own teammate. It's wild. Draymond Green would have been the perfect fit for the bad boy Pistons because they came off the bench for that team. But nah, man, it is crazy because like a lot of these former players now are been going on these shows talking about Draymond, and everybody claims that Draymond's a very good person and all this kind of stuff. Like outside of the game of basketball, they said people that have hung out with him have been teammates of him. They said Draymond's been an incredible teammate, incredible role model and stuff. But I don't know what's been going on with him. Just this year alone, man, it's crazy, man. I really hope that if there is something going on with him, like I really do hope that he gets the help that he needs, because I know mental health is a very serious thing. Maybe he is going through something personally, and he's just been afraid to go talk to somebody about it. He's been holding it in, and it's just coming out while he's at work, while he's performing at his job. So I really do hope he gets the help that he needs, man.
Yeah, and like to reiterate what you just were talking about right there too, man, like I think that if Draymond really is struggling with stuff, he definitely should go seek that help. Yeah. To kind of give a little bit more of what's going on right now with that suspension, so what the league has done is that they have suspended Draymond immediately, and then it's indefinite. Yep. So there's no necessarily timetable of his return. Basically, he has to meet certain league and team conditions before he can even think about playing again. So something similar to like what we talked about with John Moran, the whole gun situation last year. Yeah. You have to basically like go and get help and make sure that you're good enough to come back and play. And again, they also mentioned that he's expected to meet Thursday to start discussing a path of counseling and to help himself moving forward. So a lot of it's going to always come down to sometimes people put this facade because in the inside they're really hurting a lot. Yeah, and I think that it's just something that we don't talk about in terms of the league. Like Kevin Love was somebody who talked a lot about his mental health, opened up about it, how much he was struggling at times, was depressed. You don't see it because these guys are getting paid millions of dollars, right? They're on TV, they look like they're having fun, but sometimes some people that are hurting the most don't want other people to see or feel what they're feeling, so they're always trying to put on something else to distract you from the situation. So I like everything with Draymond. It just feels like there's just something else there that maybe we're not seeing. That it can be your personality all you want, but when you act like you're above it all, I think Jay Williams said it the most. When you start acting entitled, like, oh, well, I'm Draymond Green, like I'm never going to change. Like, well, if you're not going to change, you're only going to hurt your teammates, and you're going to live too much in the past to like your previous success and past success with this team to where you are now, where you're basically more a detriment to the team. And every time you do something like this, you're just hurting the team more because the Warriors do not look good. Yeah, they had the lead last night, and obviously they lost by 3. They fell short yet again last night. Now they're 10-13, I believe. I just feel like I think they made a mistake to give Draymond all that money. Yeah. I understand why they did it. It's a loyalty thing. They won the championship. He's won 4 titles. He's helped in a big way. And if he never would have got suspended, you could really make the argument he would have won Finals MVP that year. He could have. He was playing really well. He was playing really well. That historic Game 7 that he had. But yeah, it's a shame what has happened, because Draymond is probably going to go down as a first ballot Hall of Famer. Yeah. For winning 4 championships on one of the best dynasties that we've seen in the modern era. Yeah. He's won a Defensive Player of the Year award. He's been an All-Star multiple times. I don't know the exact number. But nah, man, Draymond has had a phenomenal career. Definitely one of the best second-round draft selections probably in NBA history. Yeah, and he's going to probably... His accomplishments. He's a 4-time All-Star. To just break down a little bit. 4-time All-Star, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2022. He's been named to the All-NBA team twice. Second team once, third team once. He's NBA All-Defensive Team, and he's his franchise record for the Warriors 8 times. Yeah. First team 4 times. He's been on second team 4 times. So yeah, Draymond, he's going to be one of the biggest success stories of the second round. I think him and Jokic definitely are like those guys that are up there, in like terms of like great second round picks that nobody expected to like have these like superb careers. And Draymond is part of this Warriors system. I think this was the perfect situation for him to get drafted into. I think, having a guy like Steve Kerr there and being able to develop in the West Coast, I don't think he would have flourished like that anywhere else. I think he found the perfect role with guys like Klay Thompson and Steph Curry, who were all young. They were young guys. They all were able to mold and create this Warriors core and basically just not a motto, but just kind of a style of play. That was just Warriors basketball. They really made other teams want to play like them. And I think that you see it throughout the league now. Everybody wants to have Warriors basketball.
Yeah. I'll say this though, Draymond learned a lot from Zaza Pachulia. From dirty fouls.
Zaza
also
cheap shot?
Yeah, I think too that when they were winning all those championships, I think having a guy like Andre Iguodala was huge.
Yeah. Having a guy that was that other voice in the locker room, but also was
because they don't have a voice right now.
No, they don't. They don't have that veteran leadership. Because if you look last night, man, Steph Curry looked defeated, and you have Chris Paul trying to hype this guy up on the sideline, or on the bench. But you have the guy on the bench talking to you, and you just look so defeated because you know that you cannot do this all by yourself.
He knows the team is falling apart.
He
knows it's over. With this current group, it's over.
I think that we could be seeing this team being a seller at the deadline. Klay Thompson's on a contract year. I don't think he's re-signing.
Steve Kerr's on the last year of his coach.
Yep. So you might be seeing a lot of new faces next year in Golden State. Obviously, we saw Bob Myers step down last year. I think because he even knew himself this was kind of the beginning of the end of the Warriors, and I think he just did not want to be there for
He knew exactly what's coming.
So I think to kind of move on, and again, before we finish this segment, I do just want to say this. Mental health is a serious thing. If you or anybody around you is struggling from that, go get help. Don't be afraid to speak up about that kind of stuff because people struggle through it every day. Yeah. And it's something that we all, go through as individuals. So never be afraid to ever go out for help.
Yep, exactly. I couldn't agree more with that. And a lot of people feel like they have to hold it in or have to put on this facade that nothing's really bothering them, but something really is. I think the more and more you keep things inside, it's only going to make you go crazier. It's just going to make your mental health a lot worse.
Yeah, and that's never the greatest thing to do either. So I hope that Draymond is able to get the help that he needs as well.
Yep. And everyone else out there in general.
Yeah, and I think with that can always make your future a little bit brighter.
Yep.
So I know that we talked about Draymond with his ejection, but it seems like you said earlier in this episode, Nick, refs are just really feeling like they're just tossing people out of games.
Yeah.
I feel like getting a tech is so much easier now with some of these refs than it ever used to be. Look at Ime Udoka a week and a half, 2 weeks ago.
So about the LeBron thing?
Yeah. That's it's two men talking. It's you don't have to insert yourself in there and be get out.
Yeah.
I don't understand. There was nothing there that warranted that.
Yeah.
So
it's just a opposing player and the coach talking. It wasn't directly towards the refs or anything like that. I don't understand what the issue was with that. To be honest with you, I think honestly, it's because it was LeBron.
I get that.
I think it's because he's still. People tend to say he's still the face of the league. That might be a different topic for another day.
Yeah,
but
it is hard because he's Adam Silver's poster boy still. You know, even at the age of 38, about to be 39, he is still. I hate to say it, but he literally is the one that's carrying kind of the face of the league right now, even at his old age, because nobody else. And I get that Jokic is definitely, and that's somebody that we're going to talk about too.
Yeah.
I think it's just kind of hard because not everybody appreciates Jokic's game. I think that's one of the hardest parts of some of these guys. There's great players, but people just don't gravitate towards them the same way that a lot of people gravitated towards LeBron, towards a Michael Jordan, towards Kobe Bryant, even Steph Curry. Yeah. But because of Steph Curry's struggles, I don't, and he's getting older too. Yeah. So it's hard to really say who's the face of the league right now.
Yeah, no, that's tough. It could be Luka.
It could be. We might be seeing Luka Magic more. Because he's been cooking.
Yeah, he's been cooking.
So.
Yeah. No, going on, talking about the refs, just giving, like, a lot of texts and stuff. Not only, like, text, but, like, this is the second time this happened to Nikola Jokic, where he just flat out, straight out, just got ejected from a game. He didn't receive a tech. The ref just said, you're out of here. A minute and 8 to go before halftime. A minute and 8 to go, right? And not only that, it got to the point where the Bulls fans, because normally when a opposing player gets ejected, the home crowd gets so excited. They were literally booing last night that Nikola Jokic got ejected.
I would boo too. If I paid all that money to go see
a superstar player.
Yeah.
You're paying top dollar because they're playing a Nuggets team.
Yeah, I'd be pissed.
Yeah.
Especially if it wasn't warranted either. I don't.
Literally wasn't warranted. Apparently, according to what people have said, he told the F-bomb, make the bleeping call, whatever, and the ref just decided to toss him. I understand. Refs just have to understand that players come with a lot of emotions.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, refs, they're going to miss some calls here and there. I get it. Nobody's perfect and all. But, if anybody that's played the game of basketball, right, I think Jokic did get fouled. Mm-hmm. Go watch the play. He got fouled.
Yeah, and I mean, I would even say, I'm shocked that those refs didn't toss, Giannis or Dame or even Brook Lopez the night before, because they were also playing the Bulls that night.
Yeah.
And the amount of times I saw them throwing their hands up, screaming at the ref, asking where's the call.
Yeah.
It gets to a point where it's kind of okay, I understand you're the ref and you're tired of somebody yelling at your ear, but the fact that you're tossing somebody out without warning is pretty wild.
If you want to give them a tag, that's fine. Give them a tag, but
that's usually what happens.
Yeah. It's not really happening as much as it used to anymore. They're just tossing people out now.
I just think that refs, I think one of the biggest things about this generation of basketball is that guys complain and cry so much for foul calls.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the things I really do not like with the current NBA is the amount of times I see a play where guy drives into the basket, goes up for a layup, right?
Yeah.
Nothing gets called until after the play is basically going back to the other end where the team gets the defensive rebound, right? So it's a foul if they miss, but it's not a foul if they make it.
Yeah.
I don't understand that rule. I don't get why refs have been doing that. Mm-hmm. And the other thing I hate too is this was something that I noticed in the Bulls-Bucks game. Mm-hmm. The ref made that call where Dame used his body to create contact, and that's something that they said they weren't going to do anymore. Mm-hmm. And I feel like refs flip-flop on that because that's technically an offensive foul. You can't draw contact like that because Trae Young was doing that a couple of years ago, and he was going to the free throw line 25 times a game.
James Harden too was another one.
And you don't see those guys doing that anymore. So my thing with that kind of stuff is with the refs, it's just kind of you're very cookie cutter, and you don't people are just kind of getting annoyed because it's dude, how are you missing these calls? I mean, I think the funniest one I think I've ever seen is when Patrick Beverley took the camera, gave it to the ref, and was see the call you missed. That's a clear foul. And there's so many times they do that too. That's just one example, but I feel like it's kind of it goes both ways with that. The refs are making dumb calls, but then at the same time they have no skin where they just want to toss people so easily.
Yeah.
What would you say, Nick? It would be a good fix to this situation.
I just think the timing of it was bad. There was only a minute left in the second quarter, and you're gonna toss these. We could argue he's the best player in the league.
I think he is.
Because I gotta be honest, I'm not trying to sound like that or anything. If it was certain other players, if it was LeBron, maybe if it was LeBron.
Okay,
the ref is not ejecting him. Well, let's just be honest. He's not gonna eject LeBron.
Yeah, it's very hard for them to eject LeBron. LeBron literally slammed on the floor after he didn't get a foul call, and they didn't even toss him for that. So I don't think they'd toss LeBron because Adam Silver would not be happy about that. But I would say some players will get it. I feel even Giannis, to a point, can get away with it a lot more. Because, I mean, he's gotten pretty pissed.
Yeah.
I know he's gotten ejected before, but I just feel like some guys, like, they're going to get away with it no matter what.
Yeah, I just think in general, like, if it's like when it comes to like a verbal thing, if you want to get a tech, give him a tech, that's fine. You know, tell him, hey, this is your last warning. You know, but just a flat out eject someone. Not only, unless if it's like, if you make contact with an official, that I totally get. I totally get. You got it. But if a player just says the F word to a ref, that shouldn't warrant a straight up ejection. It's just the emotion of the player, emotion of the game. The players do get upset when they feel like they've gotten fouled, and Jokic ain't the only one. It's 90, probably damn near close to 100% of the league. They react the same way when they don't get a foul call they felt like they should have gotten.
Yeah, and I think we're all humans and we all have our emotions, and you know, like words are gonna slip out, especially when you're frustrated about that. So I think one of the things that I think refs need to do is just kind of be a little bit more cautious when you're about to toss a player, especially if he's like a top guy. Not saying like, oh, just toss like a
don't treat him differently, but
like don't treat him differently, but like also don't just toss somebody because of a small thing like that. If you're gonna toss somebody, do it for the right reason. Do it because like yes, they got into your face and they are literally physically getting like violent with you. That's a fair warrant, or they're fighting somebody. Like if they're fighting somebody, then that can warrant an ejection.
It reminds me of Rudy Gobert when he smacked all the cuffs on the table, didn't get tossed. But Jokic gets tossed for that.
Hey man,
that's just wild.
I mean, there's literally been players that have spit on each other and they don't even get ejected for that. So I don't know. This is a league.
We just believe that obviously the refs can just handle certain situations a lot better. I don't think just tossing someone is going to solve it, because honestly, that's also a bad look on the NBA.
Yeah.
You know, because now these players are going to even get even more pissed off. And that's the last thing I think these refs want.
Well, you know who Chris Paul loves.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Joey Crawford.
That's bad.
And, you know, like...
He even said, like, that's personal.
Like, he got pissed this year with that. You know, like, and we've all seen that, like, kind of... Joey Crawford does not like Chris Paul. Chris Paul does not like Joey Crawford. You can tell it every time he roughs a game for them. It is always something like he's got a vendetta against him for some reason. And I don't know what Chris Paul did to him, but this guy just does not like Chris Paul. And you can tell every time the way he can call some of these games. Not going to be a conspiracy theorist out here. It's just a plain fact. When he's roughing these games, Chris Paul gets into foul trouble, man.
Yeah, not only that, his teams never win.
Yeah.
They just don't win at all.
Yeah.
I think it's very interesting to really wish we could dive deep into more of, do refs have they feel certain ways about certain players?
Oh, you know they do.
They do, but it's just like...
Because, I mean, like, hey, you remember that clip. So there's that clip that a lot of people always will post about, like, refs.
Yeah.
And it's the one of when Michael Jordan was on the Wizards, and it was like, oh, like, I believe you, Michael. I believe you. Like, I didn't see it, but I believe you, like, on that. Yeah. And it's like... There are refs out there like that they idolize these guys where they're like, this guy, he does nothing wrong.
Yeah.
So
I hear him.
That's those situations I can definitely see.
Yeah.
Great combo right there, man. I think we should definitely go back into our first ever ABNF Spotlight Player of the Week. Nick, hometown guy over here for us. And I'm going to let you give the first spotlight.
Yeah, the first spotlight, we have to give a shout out to Kobe White. He's playing at a... You look at his stats his last 5 games, you would think this guy's a star. I mean, I think his last 5 games, ever since Zach LaVine has went out, you know, he's averaging about 27 points per game. You know, he's averaging about, I believe, 6 rebounds a game, 4 assists. He's shooting a 50-50-90. He's shooting about 54% from the field, 57% from 3, and I think 90% exactly from the free throw line. When Kobe White's had the ball in his hands a lot more, when he's actually had his opportunity to really shine, he really has. So shout out to Kobe White, because he's been playing on another level.
I think he has
a level that we have not seen in his career.
Oh, no. We have not seen this version of Kobe White.
Yeah.
And it's really being unleashed right now. And the crazier part, too, Nick, is he's not that old.
No. And he just signed, I think you could say the Bulls got him on the cheap for 3 years, $40 million this past offseason. You know,
I mean, being fourth in threes made this year too.
Oh yeah.
I think that's saying a lot. He broke like a Bulls record for like most like straight games with like three threes made per game.
Yeah.
Like I think he like had like a active streak of like 10 games where he did that, and there was like no other like Bulls player that's like done that. So I will say like it is really impressive to see like what Kobe White is doing when he has more opportunities with the ball.
Yep.
I think he looks a lot more confident out there. You know, his handles, like I feel like a lot of people don't realize like
how fast he is.
Yeah. Like he's like literally like leaving people like on skates out there.
Yeah.
And just getting past and blowing by people. Yeah. And then he's got that step back three he loves going to now where, you know, if he's feeling it, man, you're not stopping him.
No, you're not. Yeah, people forget how good he was in North Carolina. That's why he ended up being, I think, the 7th pick. The Bulls took him 7th overall.
Yep.
I remember because they had 2 years in a row. They had the 7th pick 2 years in a row. They took Wendell Carter the year before. Mm-hmm. And then they took Kobe White in that draft. Ended up being, you know, a great pick, but obviously we added some guys to the team that are very ball dominant, and Kobe hasn't been able to progress that we have hoped just because he hasn't had those opportunities. But now, this past week or two, he's actually had a legit opportunity to have the ball in his hands. It kind of reminds me of like a Tyrese Maxey. As soon as he's able to get the ball in his hands, he's putting up monster stats. I don't think Kobe White could keep these stats for the rest of the season, but once Zach went out, Kobe White was averaging, I think, just about 13 points per game. Mm-hmm. He's upped his average 3 points. He's averaging 16 points a game now, just because of what he has done in this last 5-6 game span. So, spotlight of the week, we got to give a shout out to Kobe White.
Shout out to Kobe White, and we definitely will keep staying tuned. Bulls fans and anybody out there, please start paying attention to Kobe White because I think he has a chance to be MI Player of the Year. So,
I
really
He's definitely in that conversation.
So, so we're going to continue to do this every episode. New player every week on a new episode. So stay tuned for our next one because I definitely think there are some other guys out there that aren't getting that love on like big news media. Yeah. That we definitely want to give a shout out to.
Absolutely.
So Nick, I know that the in-season tournament's over. I know it ended on Saturday. The Lakers beat the Pacers in Vegas. Yep. Definitely was an interesting tournament all around. I think, you know, the group play and like the point differential and then seeing these like the actual like elimination games. I think, you know, as much as fans might say how this doesn't really matter, I think it at least gave some purpose to some of these regular season games that people usually don't care about during November and December because really football season's still going around. The playoffs for the NFL are about to start. Yeah. And for the NBA usually, I don't think it really picks up until about February.
And there's a lot of big-time college basketball games too that everybody tunes into.
Yeah, and nobody really cares.
And college football too with the playoffs.
Oh, yeah, so like there's so many other sports and other
things going on.
Yeah, and there's always something going on where I just feel like the NBA kind of gets drowned out for those like 2.5 months where they start the season where nobody's really paying attention until we start getting closer to the springtime when we get around All-Star break, the trade deadline. Yep. That's when people really start paying attention to what's going on. Mm-hmm. So I get Adam Silver. I will commend him for this. I know that a lot of people didn't love the idea at first, but it is cool to see how this is. Now, I want them to bring the Larry O'Brien trophy back to center court because I don't understand why that ever got taken off.
That's historic.
But we're putting an in-season tournament trophy in the middle of people's basketball courts. I don't understand. So, Nick, what would you say was like the most impressive thing, or at least, I guess, what was the coolest thing you saw from this tournament that you hope to continue to see for years on? Because I think this tournament is not going to be going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, it kind of low-key reminded me of the bubble a little bit when there was a lot of upsets. Look at who the teams that the Pacers beat just to get to the championship. They beat the Celtics and Milwaukee.
And both of those teams are the top two in the East that people believe are going to get to the NBA Finals in June. Yeah.
And obviously the Lakers were under 500 going into this in-season tournament. Now they've really picked up their game. They've been playing at a very, very high level, which we expect. I mean, the Lakers have a really good roster. Obviously, LeBron is 38, 39 years old. He's not slowing down anytime soon. Anthony Davis, knock on wood, relatively has stayed healthy. He's been putting up monster stats. You look at his last 5-6 games, he could have been our spotlight player. The guy is averaging maybe 25 points and maybe 14 rebounds. I mean, he's been putting on a show this year, Anthony Davis. They had some other guys that have been stepping up for them. But it's going to be very interesting to see what the Lakers are going to do for making trades and stuff, because it looks like they do want to get rid of D'Angelo Russell. It's been the talk a lot. They're trying to get Zach LaVine, but we'll see what happens. It makes sense because he's Clutch Sports, and obviously everybody is Clutch Sports that plays for freaking LA pretty much.
Oh yeah, Rich Paul's got his connections there.
Yeah.
And, I mean, to even add on to what you just said there, yeah, I think it's actually crazy. The Lakers were an under 500 team when they didn't play in this in-season tournament, and then they were undefeated in the in-season tournament. They didn't lose a game.
Yeah.
And to be fair, 2 of their games that they played in the group play were against Portland. So I will have to kind of put that disclaimer right there.
I hated how that game ended against the Suns.
Yeah, that was a
clear timeout. Phoenix should have got the ball, and they didn't.
And that's one of those things with the refs where it's just kind of like, you shouldn't have called that.
Yeah.
And I mean, and if you look, further into that game, I know that it still ended up coming down to a KD shot where he could have made that and it would have been a tied game. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you can't make a call like that when the person doesn't have full possession of the ball. Austin Reeves had lost possession. I thought that Grayson Allen was going to pick it up.
Yep.
And was going to go for a layup. Mm-hmm. I did not think that LeBron was anywhere near that ball. I understand that he was calling the timeout, but he didn't have full possession of the ball. You can't call a timeout on basically a loose ball.
Do you think they should change the rule? They should be able to review something like that, or if it was a jump ball, but maybe the team that was trying to call the timeout claimed that they got the timeout in before. You think they should be able to challenge that?
What the rule is, you can't challenge within inside 2 minutes.
Yeah.
You can't challenge it anymore.
Because that could be a big call late in games.
No,
people understand that's an underrated play that happens in a lot of close games. There's a lot of jump balls. If you really think about it, there's a lot of jump balls that happen later in games than the beginning of the games.
I still think the NBA should probably expand the challenge to 2 plays. I really don't think 1 play is enough because I agree. I still think there's more than one big play that happens in a game that can really make or break a team's situation.
Yep.
And I think official reviews, when we think about it with football, when there's a lot of close plays, especially with inside 2 minutes in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
What do we always see? You always see it going to the booth for review because they want to make sure they got that right. And I feel like with the NBA, sometimes they go and they start reviewing it in New Jersey. They have their replay center over there. They're looking at everything. Mm-hmm. But it's with a play like that, I really feel like that should have been reviewed more. I don't agree with that. Mm-hmm. And so be it. It is what it is now. You can't change what happened in that situation, but you can change for the future. I do want to also add on to what you said earlier. You compared it to the NBA bubble, and I do think it does remind you a lot of that. Mm-hmm. I think, especially
it's when we look at the crowd.
Yeah, it was a bubble with a crowd. So we saw the Lakers win something with a crowd finally there. They won their second Mickey Mouse ring. They are going to have Mickey Mouse himself give the banner whenever they decide to put that out there. Yeah. Maybe in 15 years, the in-season tournament will mean more, and then that banner will probably mean something. But for right now, that looks literally as bad as you bragging about winning the 2020 ring. So I don't want to go too heavy onto that situation itself, but I did really think that it was interesting for the West. You didn't see the 3 top teams that were actually out West. You didn't see the Denver Nuggets.
Nope.
You did not see the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Nope.
And you did not see and why am I blanking on the third team that was that's
Oklahoma?
been top? Yeah, Oklahoma. So you didn't see those 3 teams in the in-season, the elimination. You did see the Suns, which I thought was a good team. Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, always fun to watch. The Pelicans, That was the one game
Yeah.
that was terrible.
They got blown out.
Every other game was fun in this in-season tournament. Like even that Pelicans-Kings game that was going back and forth.
I love that Bucks-Pacers game was good.
That was a good game.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like, dude, what are you doing? Like, Zion looked like he did not even give a shit to be on that court against the Lakers. No. He gave up. And they were down by, like, they were getting cooked. I mean, you're getting smoked by 39 points. You should be embarrassed. I don't care if it's a regular season game or not. Mm-hmm. This is, you want to be taken serious. Literally, what happened after that game? They started talking about Zion's conditioning again.
And he goes off for 36.
Where was that 36 in that game?
He struggled the last two bubble games. He only averaged, I think, about 11.5 a game. You know, I get it. Still technically regular season.
Yeah.
But Zion, they haven't played a playoff game. They, you know, if he was playing last year, they definitely would have at least made a plan.
Oh, yeah. But if they had actually, you know, stayed more healthy, I guess. In that regard, they definitely had a lot of injuries.
Yeah, they're the 10th seed right now, currently with a 13-10 record as well. So no, they're a good team, man. And yeah, I get it with the whole Zion thing, though. My man eats the entire spread. Whatever's out there, that man is eating. But man, he's just super talented, and I just think I love how he handled it. By the way, how he handled it with the media. Yeah. He said if it's coming out of respect, or coming out of like trying to like get me better, I appreciate that, because for him he's that's another thing too about Zion. He went through a lot this year. Even before this year started, oh, God. He's had a lot of injuries. The whole thing off the court. Yes. Zion is the one player that has been in the talk, but not for the right reasons.
Unfortunately, he has not been there for the right reasons. I would agree.
Yeah, but you know, he did respond with a 36-point game, and hopefully, you know, he can get his weight down a little bit, and because we all know how talented he is, and how good this man could really be. Even last year before he got hurt, easily would have been an all-star starter, and easily would have been either first or second team All-NBA.
Yeah, I mean, he was slated to be an all-star starter last year. He got a lot of the votes.
They were second in the Western Conference too.
Yeah, and I think like that team for sure, like that was disappointing. I was a little sad to not see the Kings playing for the championship too. Yeah. I think like they definitely would have been, at least for me, I think they would have probably given a better fight against the Lakers in that like champion or I guess conference like
championship
game, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
I think that they probably would have played a closer game. I don't think we would have seen the Lakers literally have a cakewalk to the final right there. And I mean, like, yeah, I think you also said this too. You know, AD is, you know, I want to see this AD when they're actually playing some games that really mean something, because, like, AD was a monster in the in-season tournament. He looked like the most dominant player. He looked like the guy that they talked about 3 to 4 years ago, that he could be the best player in the NBA.
Yeah,
you know.
He went for 40 and 20.
Yeah,
went off.
Yeah, no, he was cooking. He was cooking. And that's the AD that people expect to see every night. That was the player that they traded for back in 2019. You know, giving up guys like Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart, Lonzo Ball, multiple draft picks.
Yeah.
You know, when you give up, you're expecting that guy. That's the guy you expected to have. That's the guy that LeBron was supposed to pass the torch to a couple of years ago. That has not happened. And, you know, when you see stuff like this, you get frustrated because you're like, where is this energy?
Yeah, you got paid the bag too.
Yeah, so, like, it's kind of crazy. I get it. They want a ring, fine, you know, so be it. He's going to get his money regardless because of that one ring. But, you know, you need more than that.
Yep.
And especially when you play in a town like LA, they're all about, you know, their championship pedigree, success long term, which they haven't had a lot of. I get they made the Western Conference Finals last year.
Yeah.
But, you know, outside of that, what have they really had?
Yeah.
So, and hey, man.
A bubble championship.
Shout out to Tyrese Halliburton.
Yes.
This dude, he is generational. I really do think, you know, when we still continue to look at that Kings trade, I think over time, I know right now it kind of still looks like, you know, a win-win trade for both sides.
Yeah.
But I think, again, just look 5-10 years down the road, man.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be really regretting that.
Yeah. You know what's kind of wild is the guy that I've always talked about that's flown under the radar. Now he's actually starting to get his respect now as a star in this league as SGA.
Oh, yeah.
And your player was Tyrese Haliburton. Look at how much respect those two are finally getting, not only in the NBA, but just in the media now. I mean, look at Oklahoma. They're second in the Western Conference this year.
Oh, yeah.
And I think Indiana, what, are they 4th or 5th? They're somewhere in the middle of the pack in the Eastern Conference, I believe, right now.
I believe they are like around the 6 to 8 spot, I believe.
Okay.
I can check that actually for you. But yeah, I mean, like they're 13-8 right now.
Yeah.
They're 5th in the Eastern Conference.
They're 5th. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean the Pacers are there. Like they're.
Tyrese is playing like he's the best point guard in the NBA.
I mean, I would argue that he probably is the best point guard in the NBA right now. Like next to SGA, and I feel it because I think that
I think SGA's more of a 2 though.
Yeah, I was like with Tyrese, like he's more of a traditional point guard in the sense like he's looking to give the ball to other people as well. I mean this guy is literally like putting up numbers that we haven't seen.
Mm-hmm.
Like he literally has had multiple games where he has 25 points, over 15 assists, 0 turnovers. You don't see that.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen.
I got one more question before
right.
we drop this episode.
All right, let's hear it.
If you had to build your team for the future, you take an SGA or Tyrese? I feel like you're going to go with your guy. It's a tough choice. It really is. I can see why you would pick whichever player. I am personally taking SGA to build around. But I can see why you want to build around Tyrese because he's that traditional point guard. He can get others involved and still get his own. He's not super selfish. SGA is not either, but that's a very interesting question.
I would probably take SGA. I think his defense is better than Tyrese. I think he can play more two-way.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be the only reason why. Otherwise, I would definitely take Tyrese. But that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah, it is.
But guys, we appreciate you listening till the end of the episode. As always, follow us on X, Twitter. Subscribe to YouTube. Follow us on Spotify as well to listen. We did just create a TikTok, so go ahead and follow that as well. Mm-hmm. We're going to be posting a lot of small clips. Please, share with anybody that you think would really enjoy listening to another podcast about basketball. And as always, guys, this is Nick and myself. This has been All Ball, No Foul.